Okay, so we're up to Siman Reish Mem Vov Sif Hey. Let's see if we can finish off Sif Hey and the Siman today. We're talking about various arrangements with a non-Jewish person on Shabbos and renting and lending out kelim and animals to a non-Jewish person on Shabbos. That's been the theme till now. And in Sif Hey, we're talking about a partnership. In other words, the non-Jewish person and the Jewish person own the animal together. So how does that work? So it says the Mechaber, Im Yisrael ve'en Yehudi shutfin b'behema. They are partners in an animal. Mutar lasos bo'en Yehudi melacha b'Shabbos. The non-Jewish person can work that animal on Shabbos. Al yedei sheyasna im ha'en Yehudi b'tchila. So long as the Yehudi, the Jewish person, makes a tanai, a condition with the non-Jewish person at the outset, so when they buy the animal, that the non-Jewish person will work on Shabbos and the Jewish person will use the animal on a weekday. But if they didn't make that arrangement from the outset, then it's not allowed. Even if they later come to that arrangement, that's not allowed. It's got to be at the outset. So let's just see the Mishnah Berurah on that. Sifkot and Chaf Beis, b'tchila denimtza telo knuya ha'behema l'Yisrael klal b'yom HaShabbos. Because if they made that arrangement at the outset, it turns out that the Jew has no ownership of the animal on Shabbos at all. And therefore they can later share the usage. And it's not considered a problem of Schar Shabbos, because of Siman Reish Mem Hey Sif Beis. Even if they both have equal responsibility for for the animal, during the week, nonetheless it's mutter, because since they made the arrangement at the outset, it's as if the Jewish person has no ownership of this animal on Shabbos. However, Chaf Gimel, but after they've made their partnership and they've sort of jointly owned this animal, they come to this agreement, then it's no good. For example, if they say, you take the animal on Shabbos and I'll use it during the week in one day instead, even though there may not be a problem of shvisas behemtoi, i.e. that there's two issues here. There's the animal of a Jewish person working on Shabbos. There may not be that because it's the chelek, it's the share of the non-Jewish persons which is working on Shabbos. Since because the non-Jewish person has got the chelek of it. Still, it's a problem. Why? That's the problem. The problem is a Schar Shabbos problem, which is not done by Havla. So that's why it's no good to sort of make the arrangement later. And Afal Pisha Hisnu Achkach, says Mishnah Berurah Chavdalad, Miloshen Zeh Mashma de Kolshkein Im Loi Hisne Klal D'Osa. So what's clear is that if they didn't make any agreement, then it's definitely also. It's Yosef Metzad Leima to Im Af La'achashe Nishtatfu Loi Hisnu Leima Tulata. If they didn't make any sort of agreement at all, Elachol Ken Stam, they just share it. Haschar Kol HaShavua B'Shavat, just whatever profit has been made, they just to split it. That actually, the Beis Yosef says would be okay, the Shari. Because the whole problem here is Schar Shabbos, and the Schar Shabbos is happening by Havla, which we've seen before is acceptable. This is the Shvisas Behemtoi, Svirle de Einkan, and there's no concern of Shvisas Behemtoi, and we just sort of interpret it that it's sort of the non-Jewish's part of the animal that's working on Shabbos. And true, he shouldn't have done it at the outset. He should have really made a proper tanai at the outset that you take the animal Shabbos and I'll take it during the week. I am Shames Yosef. That is mashma that the Beis Yosef, the author of the Shulchan Aruch, of course, didn't want to rely on this lemaisa, although he does say that in the Beis Yosef. There's no concern of shvisas behemdo. This splitting it later is only really allowed in a hefset gadol if he does haramol le'el b'reish mem hey seif aleph b'haga u'mashem b'mogen avram the yesh lismech al zeh, that you can rely on this. Okay, let's press on in the Mechaber. So we're 1, 2, 3 lines in. V'im yal v'oisol ein Yehudi. You've got the animal, as we've described, and then you lend it to a non-Jewish person Bahalva'o Gemura, with a proper loan. Shehe Rishus Biyado, that this borrower now has got full permission. He doesn't have to ask your permission when he goes out to the field, and he can just use it as freely whenever he wants. For Yizkef Adam Alen Yehudi, and you fix the price. We'll see in the Mishnah what that means. You fix the price with the non-Jewish person. For Achrayas Hashvarim Al Ha'ini Yehudi, and the full responsibility is on this non-Jewish borrower. Mutter, that would be allowed. Okay, let's do the Mishnah Berurah on that. What is Yizkef Adamim? Chafhei Hainu. Sheshom oiso bedomim, you fix the price. Kafi mashiyachshav. Say the animal's worth £200 now. That's the price. For imtis yakef, it goes up to £300. Oituzol, it goes down to £100. Yakol b'shusay. It's static. Va'afilu hachi his negam kain she'rishus biyod lehotzia tisvile gedasa yeshemrim lahanal b'sif teboin and she'hayni yehud yochel machra. I think Yitzir doesn't mean just go out to the field, it means to actually sell it. So we said previously that according to one opinion, that he's got to be able to sell it fully, and he'll pay you back the £200, whatever is the current price, regardless of price fluctuations. So then in that situation, since it's considered to be the animal of the Ein Yehudi, that would be allowed. Okay, back to the Mechaba. V'yesh matirim, 4 lines from the bottom in the Mechaba. V'yesh matirim, and the others allow, afilu lo yehi rishus b'yad ein Yehudi le'tziam, even if he can't sell it. Al yidei sheyizkef adomim al ein Yehudi b'milveh v'yachz ein Yehudi v'yasa apoitiki, he's fixed the price to the Jewish person. And then and then he says that this animal is an apoitiki. What does that mean? Pirush apoy tehei koi. That apoitiki is an abbreviation of apoy tehei koi. This lets it stand on this. Koloma, that means lo yelo pirin elamizeh, that I will pay back the Jewish person from this animal, the Yisrael, to the Jew. Yahar hanim. What does that mean? Pirush mashkin beloshin yishmal. It's the security. This is a mashkin. Etzlai ubelvad shelo yemanim achshav. So long as it's not retrospective. V'yesh matirin. Okay, let's just do the Mishnah Berurah till there actually. Chavov lo tzim al yedei zeh b'milveh umayri gamkein shehilvo yisol ein Yehudi v'sham oisoi b'domim. They fix the price v'chanal. V'adomim zokolof b'milveh. That it's fixed on that thing, and therefore price fluctuations are going to be irrelevant. At the Bola Hosif, they were coming to add over here the Af al Yedei Zeh she'osa oisa Ein Yehudi apoitzaki Yisrael, even though the borrowing Ein Yehudi makes the animal napoitzaki, that the security is in this animal, su eina rishus lamachra, and he's no longer got the ability to sell it, because of course he's got to. That's the security, you can't sell it. Afilu hachi shari, still it will be okay for the non-Jewish person to work this animal on Shabbos. Or we said Yahar hanem etzloi chavzayin pirush afapi she'anichem b'yad Yisrael l'mashkan she'yuchel ipar mehem k'shelitin mois avuram, that this is my mashkan. V'ach kach neitelo somhein Yehudi v'ovid bohem, and then the non-Jewish person takes and works the animal. Afilu hachi shari da'akati guf ha'behema b'shus hein Yehudi, because at the end of the day the animal is in the rishus of the non-Jewish person. Ubilvad, so long as he doesn't say me'achshov. So what does that mean? Hainu afilu im omaloi im loy etzen lecha hamois lizman ploni yushilcha. If I don't pay you, then this animal's yours. Given the loy omaloi me'achshov yushilcha, since they don't say the words me'achshov, lo kolam Yisrael lemafreya, the Jew doesn't own them retrospectively. If the non-Jewish person doesn't pay up, so all the Jew has, the Yehudi just has a shibud, a lien on this animal, and therefore there's no problem, retrospectively that he's working for a Jewish owner on Shabbos. Okay, back to the Ramah. The yesh matirim, and there are those who allow it, this arrangement. Al Yedei sheyazhi Yisrael ein Yehudi, that the Jewish person warns the non-Jewish person, shelo yaseh b'melacha b'Shabbos. You can't use this animal on Shabbos. V'im yaver, and if he violates it, yaseh tiyas achras olav v'afilu mea onsim. And that's what they stipulate. The yichtav came ba'arkasem, and they maybe write it up in the non-Jewish courts. Tahashtem bo lasos bo melacha b'Shabbos. Ein behemoth Yisrael. If he violates it and he does work, then this is not a Jewish-owned animal. Shaykono ein Yehudi l'schayev bonsel, because if as soon as he violates it and he works the animal on Shabbos, then this becomes the full possession of the Ein Yehudi and is chayev ul einsim. That's what they can do. They're matir if they come to that agreement. Says the Mishnah Berurah Haftes al yedei sheyaseh v'afal pi Even though it stops short of that, the Ein Yehudi has not got rishus to sell it, afilu hachishar, it's still permitted. That he can't sell it, but he has undertaken that if there's any price fluctuation, that he still takes full responsibility. They write up this agreement in a court, that there's no chashad, that is sort of a public document now, and then that would be acceptable. Okay, now let's go to the Ramah. Is that right? Oh no, sorry. Hilchasanin. Yeah. So says the Ramah, Hagar. V'chol stadi haterim elu. All of these arrangements that you've got to join the owned animal, and how does the non-Jewish person work it on Shabbos? V'chol stadi haterim elu. All of the above mentioned haterim that we allow the usage of it. Hilchasaninu v'yochel asas eis menshir. So they're all good halachas, and you can choose whichever one you want. V'afilu ma'behema kula shel Yisrael, even if it was fully owned by the Yisrael, it's as if it's sort of partnered with the non-Jewish person. Then just explain, sort of publicize how you're doing it, so there shouldn't be a chashad that there's shvisas behemte on Shabbos. Okay, so says the Mishnah Berurah, Hilchasaninu, Mishnah Sifkat in Lamed Aleph, says the Mishnah Berurah, whilst the Ramah says they're all valid ways of doing it, I think the best way is sheyakne oisom lo b'chol b'mechira gemura. I think that you should be makne the animal to the guy, to the non-Jewish person, with a mechira gemura, with a proper sale. V'yiten lo oifangam, whatever alzer. So he says in the translation at the bottom, the targum is demei kedima. In other words, there shouldn't be like an initial payment, some sort of first installment on this sale. V'yes adom yiskulav v'malva. And the balance will sort of become a loan. Yisrael, and this animal becomes an apoiti, the security for the Yisrael. They'll be confident he'll get his full money. And try and do this transaction, this sale of the animal to the non-Jewish person in front of the dayanim of the city, that it's done according to halacha. Good. So the Ramah says, choose any of the above heterim. Even the last one, the Mechaber says that merely the non-Jewish person undertakes full responsibility. Mahani Gamazeh, that also works. After even though that he does not have the right to sell it, since it's in his possession in terms of price fluctuations, he has to just pay back the actual fixed price at the time of the loan, the £200 of the value of the animal, and the price fluctuations are not taken into consideration. Pretty much like the Yesh Matir in Sif Dalet. But like I said above, says the Mishnah Berurah, better to do a proper sale. Das HaMachmir and Sham, to take on those who are machmikil divrem kiesh bezeh chashtaraisa. There's a shaila over here deraisa of your animal working on Shabbos. The imkash le'las is called ofnei heta. If it's difficult to do all aspects of the heta, ha'elu v'hu shas hatchak k'goy mishi yesh le sodas. It could be a very difficult situation. For example, you're in a lot of fields, and you can't have this arisas arrangement with the Ein Yehudi that he works your fields for you and he takes a share of the profits. He won't proceed unless you give him your animals to work with them. And you can't prevent him from plowing on Shabbos. You can rely on the Bach Hanal that we said previously yesterday, that you can be mafkir the animal before Shabbos in front of 3 people, and you publicize it, but the hefka has got to be genuine. But unless if it's a shas, don't rely on it, just a hefka. Okay, so this is again is going on the end of the Ramah. Then it's as if there's like a proper shutfus with the Ein Yehudi. This is only true if you rent out the animal, you lend it. But if he's lending it in order to do malacha for the Jew, b'Shabbos, then ein het klal. Even if he actually sold it, we're talking about working, the animal working for the benefits of the Ein Yehudi, but if he's doing it for the Yehudi, that's certainly a problem. But and therefore, if the horses belong to the Jew, Gamin Yehudi who's Schiroi, and the non-Jewish person is renting them, there's no hetzer to sell the horses to him, because you can't allow him to do work for you on Shabbos. Unless you say to him, look, I'm renting it for a year, and you take them as you wish. Oz Shari La Rambam, that was what we saw at the very beginning of the Simon. Sorry, at the end of Reish Dalet Hey. And even in that situation, you can't tend to actually do it on Shabbos. It's just that if he does it, you don't have to stop him. And then lastly, the Ramah had said that Rakshi Yafasim is a derech hetzer. You just explain why this arrangement is allowed. All of these heterim, partnerships of jointly owned animals with a non-Jewish person, really should only be allowed b'shas hatchak. To exclude those Jewish people who sell their animals to the non-Jew, so that they can do the malach on Shabbos. And the malach is being done in the name of the Jew. Okay, you don't have to be meicha to protest against those who are makels. Anyone who is, of spiritual stature should be choishish lo la'aseh zeh ki im b'shas hatchak v'al pi haras chacham. Only really in extenuating situations and with the guidance of the Pesach. Yisrael sheyesh lo sus, Yisrael has a horse, or boha moshel hamakir la'ashila la'askir, and then the governor comes along and says, I want to borrow it, or I want to rent it from you. V'wen yochel lemoy negdo eva, you can't protest because of who knows where it's going to go. It might increase hatred and enmity. The best thing to do is sell it to him, even for a small amount. Say to him, look, here, I'll sell it to you for £1. It's your animal. Therefore, it's the animal of the Moshe, of this non-Jewish governor, and he can do what he wants with it. And if he then returns to you the animal and the schirus and the payments, or whatever it is, matana ba'alma yavle, he's just giving you a gift, and therefore that's not a problem. That's the Shuvas Yaakov, I'm Shai Shuvas, Shehiskim Gamkein, Imoik Neged Yadaran. Okay, that's the end of Reish Mem Hey. That's the end of that whole sugya. Mr. Hashem, tomorrow we'll move on and we'll talk about other aspects. But you can see this was very prevalent in those days. I think it's less prevalent nowadays. But next, Mr. Hashem, tomorrow we'll start talking about other interesting inyanim.